everybody's having a great Saturday morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gianna Magrino. I'm a senior music education major with a concentration in band and clarinet performance here at the Korean School of Music. And today I will be giving my student research presentation about social media and technology in the music classroom. So first I'd like to give a special thank you. First of all, Dr. Campbell, because Dr. Campbell is the one who gave me the opportunities to pursue the student research and to explore my interests. I'd also like to thank all of the teachers who participated in my research survey, more on that later. And finally, I'd love to thank the NAFME e-board for having me here today. Without their support, this presentation would not be possible. So thank you, NAFME e-board. Of course. So first, let's talk about what my student research is and how it was conducted. So basically what I did is I sent out a survey to music educators. This was done through social media, email campaigns, follow-ups, and the snowballing method, which is basically where people send it to other people who fill it out, and they send it to other people who fill it out, et cetera, et cetera. The respondents were from the states of New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. The teachers taught across subject areas, including band, orchestra, chorus, and general music, as well as across all grade levels. So we have a very diverse array of respondents filling out the survey. So let's discuss, before we get into my ideas of how technology should be used in the music classroom, I want to hear from you. How have you guys used technology or social media in your music classrooms? Yes?
Notation software.
Notation software. Anyone else? Emma?
Soundtrack, Pro Music Lab, all those sorts of applications.
Digital audio workstations, very good. Anything else? Ross?
Excel spreadsheets for like keeping track of anything from marching bands, like bands.
Oh, very good. That's very helpful. Anything else?
I don't know. Also just like YouTube in general to like
Yeah.
listen to things and record our own stuff.
Yeah, YouTube is a very helpful resource. We're going to get into how you can use YouTube a little later. Anything else? I think that's good. All right, we'll move on. So first of all, let's talk about the reasons that we should be using technology in the music classroom. The first one we're going to talk about is accessibility. So obviously creating an inclusive model to include students with disabilities, language needs, and just generally to make things easier to use. Community communication, we're going to talk about how to use technology as a resource to get your community involved in your music department. We're going to talk about ways to make music, so those are, for example, digital audio workstations, and facilitating unique student composition research. We're going to talk about connecting with student interests, because as educators, we always want to create a student-centered environment that supports our students and their interests and goes in conjunction with our pedagogical goals. We're also going to talk about opportunities for educational leadership, so we're going to talk about opportunities for how the teacher is able to use technology to connect the classroom as a whole. So first of all, let's talk about some criteria that we're going to use when determining what to use. This was also based off of what teachers in the research survey said was their criteria for picking resources. The first is that it is free or low cost to the school. A lot of schools do not have budget to buy expensive software such as Finale for computers. Second thing is that it is easy to use, so the design of the material needs to be simple enough for the teacher to understand it, so that way they can show the students how to understand it. If it has any sort of help guides, those are very helpful as well. Meets accessibility needs, including languages. A lot of students have IEPs or 504 plans that require certain support needs from technology, including accessibility in other languages, especially if they are in some sort of ESL or ELL program. It needs to comply with state privacy laws. New York State has a privacy law on the books that basically regulates what types of information companies creating resources for education can use. So it needs to be compliant with that as well as school policy. So check with your school district before you use any sort of technology to make sure you're in compliance. It needs to be compatible with existing technology. So let's say your school is a Chromebook school. You don't want to be using technology made for iPads. You want to find something that's easily compatible with Google Chrome or whatever your school district already has. Again, going into free or low cost, we want to make sure that we are working with our existing resources. And lastly, addressing the NAFME and New York State core art standards for teaching. So you need to be thinking about how can I use these pieces of technology to address those standards. So, how many of you have heard of the FASTS model? Okay, some of you guys have heard of the FASTS model from like MTL and PME. Basically, the FASTS model is a way to organize how you ask questions to students. So I created my own model called the accessibility model to kind of show how teachers should be integrating social media and technology into the music classroom. So at the center of it all, we have accessibility, because no matter what you're using in your classroom, accessibility should always be at the forefront. You always want to make sure that your technology that you're using is accessible to your students, because disability accessibility, language accessibility, and overall financial accessibility should be defaults that we build into our education system. This is an idea that's shown in the Universal Design for Learning, or the UDL, which you'll learn about in music and special ed. And it is so important to create an inclusive classroom environment so that way everybody can participate. Then we have, all connected to accessibility is our four pillars of community communication, making music, connecting with student interests, and educational leadership. So all of these things that we talk about in this presentation are all connected via the accessibility model. So first, let's talk about accessibility. So again, criteria for accessible technology is that it needs to be financially equitable, meaning it needs to be easy to access for your school, either free or again low cost. It needs to be disability inclusive and have accessibility settings to meet your student support needs. It needs to have options for different languages, and it needs to be easy to use. Some examples of these include alternative text, which is used mostly actually on social media, but can also be embedded into presentational materials to provide a read aloud resource of a description of what's on the screen to a student who is blind or visually impaired. So for example, a page like this would be a slide with a pink polka dot border and a pink and yellow rainbow, and then it would explain like what's on the slide, and it would read out all the text. Speaking of text, it should be compatible with screen readers. Most Chromebooks, laptops, school things all have a text-to-speech or screen reader feature built into them, so your students should be knowledgeable in how to use them. And the technology that you use should be easily compatible with them, because again, our blind and visually impaired students, or students who might be using AAC devices that have things read aloud to them, very beneficial to make sure that those are compatible. Clear instructions, so tutorial settings, things are very easy to follow that just make, again, these resources very easy for students to understand, because if you don't understand how to use them, they're not going to understand how to use them. Text-to-speech we already went over, and language options. Again, just making sure that you have options for students whose English is not their first language, so that way they can also have equal access to these resources. So now let's talk about community communication. So community communication is a way for us to be able to promote our music department and get the community involved in our music department. So we want to be promoting our events, we want to be taking opportunities for community outreach, and we want opportunities for our parents to get involved, because remember, schools are communities. It is not just the students in the school, it is the teachers, it is the janitorial staff, the school resource officers, the office staff, it is the parents, it is outside groups that you bring in. We want to find as many opportunities to bring people from the community and get them involved in our department as possible, because that is how you get access to opportunities, including when you start seeing more parents getting involved in your district and caring about your department. When it comes time for those eventual decisions about which budget is going to cut, those are going to be the parents who are advocating for you to keep your department, because we all know that music is unfortunately always one of the first things to get cut when it comes time to cut departments. It's a very sad thing, and when we have people in our corner to back us up, we are able to keep our programs afloat. So some great ways to do that are live streaming for concerts. You can do those via YouTube and Instagram. Department and program pages. This is a newer thing that schools are implementing, where they are creating pages for the departments. So for example, my local high school has a school district page, individual school pages, and then department and even individual teacher pages. So they have a middle school page, and then they have a middle school orchestra page, a middle school band page, and all of that gets sent up the chain, where they all take opportunities to promote these different events and projects that students are working on. Also, anyone who has, like for example, a marching band with a booster club, these are great opportunities for people to promote their fundraisers and events that they're hosting to raise money for the programs. Sharing student projects, so things like Flip and YouTube. Flip also used to be known as Flipgrid. Just great ways for students to be able to share projects with each other, with other people. Instagram and TikTok, also very popular means of sharing things. And communicating directly with parents. This is very important if your school has any sort of marching band program, if you're doing any field trips, anything where you need to be communicating with parents directly because they're going to get involved, like we said, our parent involvement. GroupMe and Remind are great resources because they do not require parents to have access to your phone number. I know that some teachers are comfortable with that, but some schools have policies against it, so a great way to be able to get in contact with people quickly without having to get their phone numbers and deal with all those privacy and boundary issues is to use these resources like GroupMe and Remind. A lot of schools also make use of Parent Square and Google Classrooms, and you can make individual pages for parents exclusively to have access to, so that way you can communicate with them via the same means that they're getting involved with their child's education. Next we have music making. So these are ways for us to use technology to actually sit down and make music in our classroom. So the first thing we have are digital audio workstations, or DAWs. Those are going to be your soundtrack, your GarageBand, BandLab, things that we've talked about. Arrangement for performances. So for example, there's student interest in playing a certain song from a video game on your concert. You might have students take that opportunity to make their own arrangement. Original student compositions. A lot of schools nowadays have music theory courses or music industries courses and composition programs. So providing opportunities for students to find unique ways to make their own compositions. And lastly, alternate means of music making. So ways to make music without necessarily using your, ways to make music without using traditional instruments. A great example of this, actually, you might have seen this on USA Today. It was from about 8 years ago. There was a music teacher who has a student who is a wheelchair user with spinal muscular atrophy. And so the student was a percussionist and was losing the ability to hold sticks and mallets in their hands. So what they did was they actually got an iPad. This was kind of before iPads were starting to become standard in schools, and downloaded a bunch of virtual percussion apps for the student to be able to just use their fingers to play, which was a lot easier than having to tape mallets to their hands. And when it came time for marching band, they took a speaker and hooked it up to a car battery and pushed it in a stroller next to the wheelchair, so that way the student could still march with the band and still be heard, just like the other percussionists, giving them an equal opportunity. More on that later. Again, some great examples of ways to make music are GarageBand, Soundtrap, and BandLab. These are digital audio workstations. Free resources, well, GarageBand's not free, but Soundtrap and BandLab are free. MuseScore, Finale, Noteflight, and Flat. Some schools, they just download music software because they see music software, so you might have Finale. But MuseScore, Noteflight, and Flat are all free or freemium cloud-based resources, so you can use them on any device. So if a student has a personal computer that they prefer to use, they can use it on that when they get home. Chrome Music Lab, very popular in elementary general music because no music notation is required. It is color-based software, so you use, you basically click buttons and they make different pitches, and you can change the sound, the instruments, to make original student compositions. Again, very compatible with Chromebooks. Virtual percussion instruments, we talked about that earlier, about how the teacher was able to create an inclusive opportunity for a student to still be able to participate in band. And lastly, MIDI and fixed media. There are a lot of schools now that have resources to create MIDI labs, but just the use of MIDI in general is very helpful for creating student compositions, to be able to hear it, especially again if you're using your MuseScore, your Finale. And fixed media pieces, very good opportunities to create these things and present them prior to concerts, for example, or to make them part of a concert. Maybe you play a piece where the band is playing with electronics. Maybe you play a piece where a student creates something, where they record something, and then it's played at a concert for people to hear. So now we're going to get into connecting with student interests. So some great ways to connect with student interests in your band room, or your music classroom, I should say. Exploring popular music and trends, particularly those that are culturally relevant to our students, especially if you are working in a community that is very different from your own demographically, especially as you get older and you start kind of getting a little bit out of touch with your students in terms of like what you're listening to is not necessarily matching what they're listening to. You want to find opportunities to be able to explore what they're listening to so you can bring that into your classroom. Sharing materials. The internet is phenomenal. There are lots of ways for us to be able to connect with each other and share things and opportunities, as well as experiencing music. There are lots of resources out there that provide free access to virtual concerts for you to be able to watch. For example, the Crane live streaming. Things to look out for: social media trends and influencers. These are super important because these are the people that kids are looking up to, so you want to see what kind of content they're putting out there. There are whole songs, for example, that have been very popular due to the use of social media. Doja Cat comes to mind as a premier example. A lot of her songs became popular trends on TikTok, so people started listening to them, people started performing them more, people started making up dance activities and making trends, transitions, all these different things. Viral videos in general, there are some really great examples of music performances and music experiences going viral. Like, for example, when I was looking up this presentation, there was a video of a little 4-year-old boy. The video got like 1 million views of him just playing Superstition on the drum set. He's 4, but he's playing like a professional musician. It was insane. Or like, for example, the Walmart yodeling kid. Does anyone remember the Walmart yodeling kid? Prime example of a simple musical performance going viral. Also, playlist resources, especially for older kids, you might find them start to do playlist assignments in music theory courses, music in our lives courses, music industries courses, talking about just curating music based off of student interests or student opportunities. All right, next we're going to talk about educational leadership. So this is going to delve into opportunities for you as an educator to use technology directly in the lesson teaching process. So we're going to be exploring the artistic process, so how music is created, how our students are creating music. We're going to talk about the role and function of the teacher. So I view the role and function as a facilitator of creativity. So you give your students the resources, you provide opportunities, and you provide feedback for them to be able to create their own original works. So I'm not going to stand up here and be like, you need to write a piece using quarter notes, eighth notes, and triplets. I'm going to, for example, be like, write a piece about your favorite animal, or write a piece about your, write a piece about something that happened after school. And I'm going to provide them with resources and support systems so that way they can get that done, and then provide them with feedback so that way they can improve. We're also going to talk about instructional supports, so things to support your actual teaching process, kind of like this presentation right here. And interactive learning experiences, because I've been very fortunate to have a lot of these when I was in school, and they've been very helpful to me. Oh, there we go. So the first one is for concept mapping. This can be useful for you as a teacher, but also for your students as well if they are in the planning stage of the artistic process. So Kaggle and Miro are great resources for you to create concept maps. I actually used Kaggle in Elementary General Music Practicum to create a virtual concept map. It just links right to your Google account, and just make like a flow chart so that way we could kind of lay out, you know those spider web charts where you have like an idea in the middle and they like kind of branch off into other ideas? That's an opportunity to create one of those virtually to kind of explore just kind of the planning phase, getting your ideas down, getting them ready to go. Chalk is a great teacher resource for creating lesson plans, as well as Teachers Pay Teachers is very helpful because you get an opportunity to support other teachers, and a lot of times the resources are either completely free or very low cost to the educator. For website making, Padlet, Weebly, and Google Site are either free or freemium. Really easy to use, good for department pages, portfolios, student projects. Just, again, free resources, take advantage of them. Videos. I really like using Play Along Ukulele and Boomwhacker videos. I use these a lot in special ed practicum. I use rhythm videos, Boomwhacker videos. Very helpful to, again, get students to have something visual to look at, as opposed to just, for example, writing notes on the board and pointing at them. This is an interactive video, and a lot of them also have themes or songs that students listen to. So again, great way to connect with student interests. Next, I want to talk about interactive music experiences. So Pear Deck, Nearpod, and Kahoot are all customizable experiences that you can use to directly integrate into lesson planning. I use Pear Deck and Nearpod a lot in school. Basically, think like a presentation, but a more interactive way to do it. So it would have opportunities for students to kind of sign and connect with the lesson. And then there could be like a question on the board, and they would type in their answers, and those would pop up. And you would get as an opportunity as a teacher to kind of review those resource questions and talk about them in class. It's just another way to support the educational experience. And Kahoot, of course, kids love Kahoot. We all loved playing Kahoot as a test review, or just a fun activity to round out the semester. I also want to point out other music educators. They are your best friend. I cannot tell you how many resources I have gotten from TikTok, from social media, from just talking to other teachers in my network, talking to other teachers in your department. It is so important to connect with those other people because they might have thought of an idea that you might not have even thought of. Or they might have a different teaching philosophy and a different perspective. And getting the opportunity to at least hear that other person's perspective, even if you don't agree with everything they have to say, at least understanding where they're coming from and maybe how you can take some of their ideas and incorporate them into your own ideas in your classroom. So that brings us back to our accessibility model of integrating social media and technology into the music classroom. So again, as you can see, accessibility is at the forefront of everything because no matter what you create, if you cannot use it, you can't use it. If it's not physically able to be used, if it's not compatible with devices, it's not going to work. So remember, when we try to connect with our student interests, make music, communicate with members of our community, or be a leader in our classroom, we always have to make sure that what we're using is accessible to our students. So now we're going to get into some examples. So I'm going to open up this link. So what we're going to do is you guys are going to watch the video, and then we're going to kind of talk collaboratively about, I guess it's just going to turn on. Okay. Is the audio not working? Do we not have audio? Do we have audio?
I don't know. So because the cabinet is locked.
The cabinet's locked?
Yeah.
I think there's
An external.
are we sure it's not on? Okay. Alright, well that's unfortunate. So I guess we can just watch the video. But basically what this person is doing is she is creating a cover of Kiss Me More by Doja Cat using household objects. So she uses probably some sort of digital audio workstation to take everything, take recordings of the household objects and sync them up and make a beat, and then she used those glasses to create the actual pitches. I don't know if anyone did that lab in like elementary school science or anything where they like took glasses and tapped them with a spoon and they had different amounts of water. So how do you think that this is a great example of integrating social media and technology in the music classroom? And I'll pull up the model for everyone to reference. Yes?
I think sharing something like that with your students can help spark their ideas as to what can qualify as music and the different things they could do.
Yeah, I really like that. Showing different ways of making music other than the use of traditional instruments. Anything else? Yes, Ross?
Yeah, it individualizes the music making experience where they can use whatever they have in their kitchen. You don't necessarily need these specific instruments.
Yeah, lots of resources for students who might not have access to traditional instruments. And just generally embracing percussion, honestly. Anything else? Any other thoughts? Yeah, I think generally using videos like this as a springboard for projects, so saying to students, hey, this is an example of what you can do. Now let's take that and let's do that in our classroom. Very good opportunity to share something new. So our next one is a teaching activity. Again, we have no audio, so I apologize for that. That's the same video. That was not supposed to be the same video. Oh, we're going to use TikTok to our advantage then. Real quick, Bailey, do you just mind making sure that it's still recording? I know that the screen turned off.
It wants you to log back in.
Okay. Okay, thank goodness. As always, nothing is ever perfect with technology. Oh, it's gonna be. All right. So we're gonna YouTube it then. Always be familiar with your resources and alternate means of accessing your resources because things can and will go wrong. Trying to see if it made it to TikTok or it made it to YouTube. Basically, there was a teacher. The video was supposed to be of a teacher using Crab Rave, which is a very popular meme song that people would use to play along with rhythm sticks in the classroom. There are pre-made videos out there of resources. Like, for example, those Boomwhacker videos that you often see kind of on TikTok and in music classrooms. And basically, this teacher was just sharing on social media a video of him, not with his students in the picture. Please don't put your students in your social media videos. But just a video of him tapping along to the song with rhythm sticks. So how do we think that that's a good example of integrating social media into the classroom or technology as well? Anyone? Any thoughts?
Yes.
Taking popular songs that they may know from social media or different media platforms that they interact with can help engage them and connect the concepts to their actual lives.
Yeah, I really like that. So just, again, bringing things that our students are interested in into the classroom and finding opportunities for students to embrace the musical concepts that we're teaching them with stuff that they enjoy. Anyone think of anything else, particularly the fact that the original video was posted by a music educator? Yes?
Well, I was going to say that it's a nice way of combining a visual element with an aesthetic element.
Yeah, multisensory learning. Multisensory learning is great, again, when you're embracing those concepts of the universal design of learning, to just encourage students to have different experiences and different opportunities when learning in the classroom. Anything else? Yes, Roz.
And another music educator posted it so that possibly leaves room for you to get involved with other music educators.
Yes, collaborating with other music educators and getting resources from each other because the music education community is very small and there are so many awesome resources out there. You just need to go and find them. I have found so many fun holiday, like Halloween activities from TikTok. Videos about culturally responsive teaching, just other educators sharing their resources, again, for free or for at a very low cost to be able to help other teachers. People are in your corner for a reason. They are here to help you and share what they're doing, and you get an opportunity to give back to a fellow educator by sharing their ideas in the classroom, of course, always with credit. And when I send out the presentation, it will have the correct video this time. This is one of my favorites. Again, the audio not working is doing all of us a disservice. But basically, Mr. Finn is a choir teacher, and what he's doing is you'll kind of see on the screen, they're showing the different vocal parts. So they are bringing in each part to sing Hey Jude, Beatles song, of course. And this video, again, went viral. There was a video of him doing it with a show choir that went viral. So he's introducing each part. So each vocal part has the notes, they bring them in, they bring in the sopranos after this, and then the altos with the main melody. And then there's actually a part 2 to this video where he shows different vocal concepts like changing the tone of the voice, so like a very round sound versus a very nasal sound, dynamics as well, just a different way of doing a choir warm-up. So how do we think that this could be integrated into our classroom? I'll let the video run its course. It's actually kind of cool. Again, when the audio is working. Anyone have any thoughts? There are no wrong answers, so feel free to share however you feel about these, because, yes.
I think the concept of connecting a warm-up to a song that the students are familiar with can help you reach the same musical goals while also keeping them interested.
Yeah, I really like that. So again, connecting music that students are interested or listening to into the classroom. Anything else? I know it's a little early in the morning. I really liked this video because it was showing an opportunity to incorporate songs that students are listening to. I feel like this is something that's more accepted in choral spaces than it is in band and orchestra settings. I feel like incorporating opportunities like this, like instead of just doing a concert B flat scale and then a concert B flat scale and a round in a band setting, you might say, all right, let's take out this tune from marching band, or let's learn this tune by rote. He taught the whole tune by rote. He did not use notation software. He used solfege, but he taught the whole thing by rote. Teaching different sections of the band by rote and then bringing that into a warm-up gives you opportunities to explore those musical concepts, like listening across the band, identifying different parts in a more fun way, and kind of gets them thinking about that from the warm-up, not just when you tell them to do it because they're not doing it when you run the piece. Bringing these innate concepts that we work on in ensemble settings into the warm-up process, and with a really good song. Again, this would also be very helpful if we had video, or the audio. Basically, this is the Oklahoma State University drumline. They posted this awesome video that went viral of their band director having a grand old time conducting the band while they covered the song Poison, which is a very popular song, I believe from the 90s, early 2000s. The song's miss her, kiss her, love her, that girl is poison. And he's just out here living his best life. Look at this man. This man is having the time of his life. So how do you guys think this is a great example of integrating social media in particular into our classrooms? Bailey.
Shows that band can be fun.
Band is fun, yes. What else? Yes.
Students are participating and have a voice in their classrooms now, like what they get to play.
Yeah, great. Student engagement, student excitement. You can kind of see in some of the videos when it kind of pans to the student, like that cymbal player right there. She is jamming out with the cymbals, the percussion. Yes.
It shows how we can grow community through music.
Community through music, yes, super important. I love in this video in particular how it is an excerpt of a performance. So it's not necessarily just putting the whole performance on the page. It is showing them at a game, working in the community. So it encourages people to come to the games to go see the marching band. It encourages people to go watch the concerts. Like, let's say there is a YouTube link to the full performance somewhere. Then that encourages people to go check out the department's YouTube page to go watch the full link. Or again, explore the Instagram page, find a full performance. And these are all the articles that I referenced in creating this video. So thank you all so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. The video of the presentation as well as the slides will be sent out, so that way you can reference this, or those of you who missed the presentation, if you want to view it. If you enjoyed, thank you so much for seeing all of my research. Someone stop the video, please. Thanks, Jess.